Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to General Hospital teasers, Jason Morgan will face criticism from Carly Spencer over the Sasha Corbin baby hoax. There will be some thrilling drama soon as Michael Corinthos' mother responds to the paternity scandal that is developing. Fans of GH are aware that Willow and Michael Corinthos are preparing for their custody court and divorce. Several episodes will focus on Willow and Michael's time in the courtroom during the week of June 2nd to 6th. According to the most recent spoilers, everything suggests that Sasha's unborn child's true father will be revealed. It appears that Nina Reeves will provide Rick Lansing with the information he requires to make this shocking discovery in court. Carly will undoubtedly discover that Jason has been concealing a huge secret. Although Jason generally dislikes lying to Carly, there was one occasion when he felt compelled to do so. Carly will continue to believe that she should have been informed, even though Sasha and Jason agreed to keep the true paternity a secret for Michael's benefit. Jason was honest with Danny Morgan from the beginning, and Carly will undoubtedly believe that she also deserves the truth. But Jason couldn't risk Carly messing things up because he knows how she can be. Carly will still be upset and incensed even if Jason tries to explain why he kept her in the dark. Given that this secret won't even be a secret, that is especially true. Carly may become even more irate about the whole issue as the paternity cover-up is ready to fall apart. Carly could believe that if she had known the truth, she could have done more to keep Michael safe. Carly will still be angry by Jason's dishonesty, even though she should partially respect what he attempted to do for Michael. Following the hearing, Carly will likely become irate and corner Jason for a confrontation in which she will demand explanations. Stay tuned for all the exciting news that lies ahead as General Hospital spoilers indicate that the custody case will continue to take unexpected turns. As Carly Corinthos let loose her rage on Jason Morgan, her longtime friend and ally, the tension in Port Charles reached a breaking point. After weeks of mounting tension, the altercation broke out in a furious outburst that left onlookers speechless. Never one to hide her feelings, Carly expressed how betrayed she felt by Jason's recent behavior, especially his role in the major paternity scandal involving Michael Corinthos and Sasha Gilmore. Their families had been rocked by the aftermath from this disclosure, which had destroyed trust and strained relationships. As she stood toe-to-toe with Jason, Carly's indignation was evident, and her voice trembled with a mixture of hurt and rage. "What prevented you from telling me this?" With accusing fire in her eyes, she demanded. Jason, who is usually unreadable and stoic, looked at her with a composure that only served to increase her annoyance. Even though he had always been a man of few words and preferred action to justification, his silence felt betraying this time. Carly had relied on his faithfulness through innumerable crises and had complete faith in him. She was caught off guard now and wondered if their relationship had ever been as strong as she thought it was. The revelation that had just shaken Michael's life was the cause of Carly's rage. He had loved and trusted Sasha, but she had been concealing a terrible secret that raised doubts about the child's paternity. Michael was reeling from the revelation, his feelings vacillating between anger and grief. Carly, his mother, was intensely protective, and she became enraged when she saw her son suffer. She held Jason accountable for failing to warn her, and for failing to intervene sooner to stop the destruction that now threatened to destroy Michael. Jason, on the other hand, had good reason to remain silent. His complex relationship with Michael's father and Carly's ex-husband, Sonny Corinthos, had always put him in a vulnerable position. In their world, loyalty had two sides, and Jason had frequently been caught between opposing commitments. Carly, however, had no use for justifications. For her, this was about family, not simply devotion. She would do everything it took to protect her son Michael from more suffering. In the meantime, Michael's mother, whether that be Carly or another mother figure in his life, was experiencing emotional turmoil of her own. She had to face her past transgressions and remorse because the paternity issue had reopened old scars. Her response would be tinged with remorse and unresolved rage if this were about Michael's birth mother, Nellie Benson. As a skilled manipulator, Nellie's legacy still haunts Michael in surprising ways. Should it have been Carly, her maternal instincts were triggered, causing her to confront anyone she thought may jeopardize her son's happiness. Sasha was trying to save what was left of her relationship with Michael when she was stuck in the middle of the storm. The truth had a tendency of coming to light at the worst possible time, even though she had never meant for her secret to cause such devastation. She begged for understanding, demonstrating her desperation, but the damage was already done. Once trust was lost, it was difficult to regain, and Michael felt duped. Other significant figures in the story added their voices as Carly went on her tirade against Jason. Ever the watchful parent, Sonny struggled to balance his desire to help Michael with his commitment to Jason. Family came first, even if the two men had been brothers in arms for years. Because of his difficult past with both Carly and Jason, Sonny's arrival injected even more stress to the already tense situation. Elsewhere, Michael's current wife Willow Tate watched the carnage unfold with sorrow. Even though she had supported Michael through innumerable hardships, this most recent catastrophe put her resolve to the test. Willow found herself in a precarious situation as her allegiance to Michael and her sympathy for Sasha clashed. Michael had always relied on her calm strength to keep him grounded, but now even she appeared unsure of how to handle the situation. Wide-ranging effects resulted from the paternity scandal, which revealed long-suppressed grudges and covert connections. Sasha's adoptive mother, Nina Reeves, became embroiled in the conflict, and her own complex past with Carly fueled it. This most recent dispute only widened the gulf between the two women, who had been embroiled in a vicious quarrel for years. Old animosities were rekindled when Nina fiercely defended Sasha, putting her at odds with Carly. One thing became brutally obvious as the dust settled. This scandal would have far-reaching consequences. Trust had been destroyed, relationships had been shattered, and the emotional cost was incalculable. Carly's tirade against Jason was only the start, a sign of the conflicts that will follow. This felt different from Port Charles, which had always been a place of secrets and betrayals. It was a personal matter. The future was unknown for Michael. He was left to pick up the pieces when his life's foundation was rocked. Was their love forever ruined, or would he be able to forgive Sasha? Had this treachery permanently broken Carly and Jason's friendship, or could they mend it? What about Sonny, Willow, and Nina? How would they handle the eroding relationships and emotional ruins caused by the paternity scandal? Time would tell. However, there was no doubt that the drama was far from over. The next explosion was always imminent in Port Charles, where the stakes were always high. Emma went to the Q living room and yelled for Gio. As Emma inquired about his well-being, he ran down the stairs while carrying a rucksack. "No, I just found out that my mom wasn't really my mom. My dad wasn't really my dad. My entire life is a lie," he said. Emma insisted on accompanying him even though he wasn't sure where they were heading. Exhausted from her night at the PCPD, Tracy entered as they were about to leave. Then she realized something was wrong. "I can't believe Drew framed me and then had me arrested. He's not going to like what happens next. And Jason leaving me stranded at the police station," she complained. She questioned Emma and Gio. "What are you doing here? You should be at the nurses' ball. What's wrong? Do you know how you like to remind me repeatedly that I am not a quartermain?" asked Gio. "Vaguely," said Tracy. "Well, the joke's on you, Tracy, 'cause it turns out I'm family after all," he replied. Gio informed Tracy that his parents were Dante and Brooke Lynn, leaving her speechless. Tracy uttered the words, "It was you. All this time. You're my great-grandson," while speechless. Gio tried to get away after grabbing Emma. Tracy commanded in a low voice, "No, don't go. Don't take another step." Emma vowed to tell Tracy where they were and insisted that Gio leave. Tracy said, "Thank you, but you need to zip it." When Tracy questioned why Gio thought this, she was still gathering her thoughts. He claimed to have heard Lois mention that his parents were Dante and Brooke Lynn. "I understand, Gio, that this is very upsetting, but you don't get to come in here and say that you're family and then just waltz out the door. Because you're my family." When Tracy heard the news, she choked. She pulled out a photo of her parents and introduced Gio to Edward and Lila. "I have 2 sons, a granddaughter, a grandson, and now you tell me I have a great-grandson," she said. Then she put her palm on Joe's cheek and said, "Gio, everything in this house is yours. Don't push us away. This brooch. This belonged to Lila," she said. In the Metro Court Gardens, Brooke Lynn caught up to a distraught Lois. Brooklyn asked her the most important question, but Lois called for Gio. Brooklyn said, "Don't even consider lying to me. Is Gio my son?" "Yes, he is," a heartbroken Lois informed her, causing Brooklyn to tremble with disbelief and tears. Lois tried to explain, but Brooklyn was unable to even look at her. "Your grandmother and I thought we were doing the right thing. You said you wanted your baby to go to a loving home. But how could I keep that promise if I didn't know the family? So we decided to keep Joe close. We were only trying to look out for your child, and that's exactly what we did. No child was ever more loved than Gio was. We made sure of that," Lois continued. Brooklyn told Lois she was having trouble breathing and almost passed out. As Brooklyn calmed down, Lois offered her a drink of water. Lois began at the beginning when Brooklyn requested her to tell her everything. Gloria was aware of Camilla's intense desire for a child. When we told her our idea, she was thrilled. We were offering her the opportunity to be a mother, Lois recalled. It was like a dream come true. I could look you in the eye with absolute certainty and tell you that your baby went to a loving home, she said. When Camilla passed away, Lois said, she had wanted to tell Gio and Brooklyn the truth, but they didn't want to shock him any further because Joe's entire world had just come apart. Brooklyn sat silently with tears running down her cheeks while Lois sobbed and rambled, pleading for mercy. After saying, "Brooklyn, you have to believe me. I was trying to do the right thing," Lois was followed by Dante. He questioned, "For who? The right thing for who?" Brooklyn aggressively interrupted Lois as she attempted to speak with Dante. The only thing she uttered after glancing at Dante was, "I'm so sorry." Whispering, "So it's true," Dante said. That summer, Brooklyn became pregnant, but she wasn't sure how to tell him. Dante replied sympathetically, "Were you scared I'd be upset or embarrass you or something? I was young. I was scared out of my mind. I felt so scared and lost and didn't know what to do. All I knew was that I couldn't terminate my pregnancy, so I had the baby and gave it up for adoption. And I swore I'd never tell anyone. I swear, until tonight I never knew the child was Gio," she said. Prior to his outburst with Gio and Rocco a few weeks ago, Dante was as sensible and mature as ever. "We clearly have a lot to talk about and figure out, but look, we gotta put all that aside because we got a son and he's in trouble right now," stated Dante. At that moment, Tracy texted them to inform them of Joe's location. When Lois attempted to accompany them, Brooklyn refused. "Every time you use the word we or us, I want to crawl out of my skin. It was my baby, Ma," Brooklyn said. "You pretended I was the one who was calling the shots. Meanwhile, I had nothing to do with it." When Lois attempted to grasp Brooklyn's hand, the latter angrily yanked it away from her mother. Brooklyn spit out, "Get off me. What you did was unforgivable," she sobbed as Lois started crying uncontrollably. "You lied to me, your own daughter, for 22 years. You lied to Gio, my son. Dante, Dad, Olivia, Granny, the list goes on. Stay the hell away from me," she said. When Ned walked up to her, Lois quickly gathered herself and sat quietly, thinking about what had just transpired. He only glared in silence. Gio started crying as Tracy continued to tell him about his family back at the Q house. Tracy persisted. "Look, nobody can classify the Quartermaines as perfect, but we're your family," she remarked with pride. "I get that this isn't your fault, but I had a family. I had a mother who I loved more than anything. A mother that I lost. And now I find out that was a complete lie. The family that I do have now, they're all a bunch of liars, so you'll have to excuse me if I don't jump on the Q bandwagon," he said, as Brooklyn and Dante were walking into the room. Amelia was already at Grandma Carly's when Michael informed Wiley outside the Metro Court ballroom that they would be having a sleepover. Willow and Drew attempted to pursue him, but he departed with Wiley. Then Jason showed up and told them not to. Willow inquired as to where Michael had taken Wiley, but Jason remained silent. When Nina, Carly, and Josh showed up, Willow answered the phone from the sitter informing her that Michael also had Amelia. Michael asked Jason to drive Amelia to her home. Jason informed Carly. Willow yelled at Jason, "You had no right. You took my baby," as she left with Drew in tow. With the exception of Sunny and Nina, everyone left. Nina pleaded for her ex-husband to listen to her. "Sunny, can you talk to Michael? Make him see that a compromise is what's best," she inquired. Nina, nobody wants a battle. But until or unless Willow gets away from Drew, this is the way it's gonna be, Sunny said. Then Sunny became serious. Given that Drew has destroyed Willow's life, Sunny questioned, is there any way you can get her to see that Drew is not a good person? According to General Hospital teasers, Michael Corinthos will encounter a difficult situation on the witness stand. Let's discuss what to expect from what appears to be a courtroom surprise from Rick Lansing. There will be some dramatic scenes during the week of June 2nd to 6th, as Willow and Michael Corinthos get ready to battle with the assistance of their lawyers. Rick will have some strategies up his sleeve, but Diane Miller will be ready to fight Willow and Drew Kane in court. Nina Reeves may eventually tell Rick that Michael is the real father of her child, despite her conflicting feelings over betraying Sasha Corbin. Even the suggestion that Michael cheated and has been concealing a pregnant mistress could influence the judge, even in the absence of paternity proof. Willow moving to DC is not something Nina wants. With Drew and is aware that, should she be granted full custody, she might actually do so. The alternative, however, might be Willow losing her children entirely. If Willow learned that her mother could have helped her win in court but did nothing, she would despise Nina. Nina may therefore give Rick the information he needs to expose the paternity truth. Nina might, however, have a unique request to ease Sasha's burden. Maybe Nina will pressure Rick to confront Michael instead, forcing him to confess in court. Sasha might be forced to discuss their passionate meeting and the true owner of her child, if Rick can persuade Michael to confess on the witness stand. If Michael spills the beans and allows Sasha to support his accusations, she might be able to escape being charged with perjury. In any case, there should be some mayhem with paternity, so be sure to watch for all the startling scenes that are about to happen. Soon enough, Michael and Sasha's actions ought to come back to haunt them severely. According to General Hospital spoilers, Michael can have a harsh awakening when he takes the witness stand, so pay close attention. No one anticipated that the animosity between brothers Rocco and Gio would blow out the way it did, even though it had been building for years. As siblings frequently do, the two had always been close as children, sharing dreams, secrets, and even the odd argument. As they grew older, though, something changed, misunderstandings festered, animosity grew, and the once unbreakable bond started to erode. One fateful evening, Gio dropped a bombshell that left Rocco reeling, and it all came to a head. Although the specifics of what was said are yet unknown, witnesses to the altercation characterized it as explosive. The normally composed Rocco was spotted hurriedly leaving the room, his face a mask of rage and betrayal. Gio, however, stood motionless, his face displaying a mixture of stubbornness and remorse. The consequences were immediate. Family members and friends were split, with some supporting Gio and others supporting Rocco. Was it money? Rumors flew like wildfire. A long-kept secret in the family? Or was it a betrayal so intimate that neither brother was able to recover? One thing was clear. The gap between them was wider than everyone had thought, even though the truth was still hazy. As the days went by, Rocco stopped talking to Gio and stopped using his name. Gio, meanwhile, made an effort to get in touch, sending texts and voicemails that were not returned. The brothers, who had previously been inseparable, were now strangers, their relationship reduced to hate and silence. Those closest to them feared the worst, that this was a permanent fracture rather than just another argument between siblings. The question hung in the air. Was Rocco and Joe's relationship over? Or could they possibly get back together? For now, everyone was surprised by the shock of their falling out, but only time would tell. No one anticipated that the animosity between brothers Rocco and Gio would blow out the way it did, even though it had been building for years. As siblings frequently do, the two had always been close as children, sharing dreams, secrets, and even the odd argument. They were the kind of brothers who always supported one another no matter what, who finished each other's sentences, and who shared inner jokes that no one else could understand. Everyone believed that their link was unbreakable and unshakable, and it was the subject of family legend. But as they grew older, something changed. The pleasant childhood years gave way to the demands of adulthood, which brought with them obligations, goals, and regrettably miscommunications. Joe's problems were usually resolved by Rocco, the older of the two, who had always been the guardian. The more impetuous and unrestrained brother, Gio, needed Rocco's constant presence to keep him in check. This dynamic operated for years. However, The fissures became apparent as their lifestyles diverged. Rocco had always been the responsible one, the one who worked hard, complied with regulations, and prioritized family. He had created a solid, dependable, and stable life. Gio, however, had a lot of dreams. He pursued possibilities with a daring, occasionally reckless, and always passionate intensity. Gio saw potential where Rocco saw caution. Gio saw adventure where Rocco saw danger. Originally complementary, these distinctions eventually turned into points of contention. A few years back, Gio made a decision that Rocco couldn't support, which was the first genuine indication that anything was wrong. It was merely a career decision that Rocco felt was too reckless and impetuous, nothing disastrous. He had attempted to dissuade Gio, but Gio had resisted, claiming to be an expert in his field. Their first true blowout, the type that left them both shaken, was the debate that ensued. Of course, they had battled before, but this time was different. This was a fundamental confrontation of principles rather than merely a dispute. Even though they had finally made amends, the animosity still there. Rocco couldn't get rid of the impression that Gio was acting selfishly, and that he wasn't considering the impact his decisions would have on the family. Gio, on the other hand, felt constrained by Rocco's incessant need to be in charge and to be cautious. He wanted to be allowed to make his own errors, but he still loved his brother. Silently, subtly, the tension between them increased. Conversations grew more circumspect and family get-togethers became tense. Even though they continued to laugh together and support one another when necessary, their ease with one another had vanished. Naturally, their mother was the first to notice. Moms always do. She made an effort to gently encourage them to get back together, but neither of them was prepared to acknowledge that there was a genuine issue. Then came the night that it all fell apart. The evening had begun with a family meal at their parents' place, just like any other. Gio, as usual, arrived fashionably late, but Rocco had arrived early, helping his mother arrange the table. Everything appeared normal at first. They avoided the typical landmines, engaged in small talk, and acted as though nothing was wrong. However, something changed as the night went on. Perhaps it was the wine, perhaps it was the weight of all that was unsaid, but all of a sudden the meticulous facade fell apart. Nobody knows for sure what started the disagreement. Some claim that Gio made a light-hearted jest regarding Rocco's employment, which Rocco mistook. Others believe it was a more serious issue that had been brewing for years. Whatever it was, the words that from their lips were cruel, incisive, and unforgivable. Gio was the first to speak, and his voice was filled with annoyance. "This is what you always do," he yelled. "You behave as though you know what's best for everyone, and that the rest of us should just follow your lead." Rocco's expression clouded. "Perhaps if you gave it some thought, I wouldn't have to." There was silence in the room. Their parents looked at each other anxiously, but Gio revealed the truth before anybody could stop him. "Are you curious about the truth?" Gio spoke in a low, menacing voice. "Something that I've been hiding from you. Something significant." Rocco stopped. "What are you discussing?" The discovery that came next was so startling that it caused Rocco's entire world to spin. Although Joe's exact words are still unknown, some claim they had to do with money, while others speculate about a long-kept family secret. The effect was felt right away. Rocco's hands curled into fists and his face turned pale. It appeared for a second that he may say anything, but then he turned and left without saying anything. He left behind a deafening quiet. Gio stood there, a sort of remorse replacing his former indignation. He began, "I didn't mean," but it was too late. Rocco had left already. The consequences were severe and quick. Rocco stopped communicating, not returning calls or texts. Gio made an effort to get in touch, sending progressively frantic messages, but Rocco was done. Family members and friends found themselves torn between two opposing sides in an unfamiliar conflict. While some accused Rocco of overreacting, others blamed Gio for whatever he had said. However, nobody truly knew the whole story. The gap between them only widened as the weeks stretched into months. Without mentioning his sibling, Rocco plunged himself into his task. In the meantime, Gio deteriorated, his typical self-assurance giving way to a senseless remorse. He had hoped to change Rocco's perspective and jolt him out of his inflexibility. Rather, he had ruined the one connection that had always been most important. Their folks were devastated. They had always taken great pride in their close-knit family, so it was intolerable to watch their sons grow apart. The scars were too deep, despite their best efforts to negotiate and find a solution to heal the division. Whether Rocco and Gio can ever get back together is the topic at hand. In the past, brothers have battled and then come together. This feels different though. This is more than just a quarrel. It's a betrayal and a rift in their relationship's core. If they can recover, only time will tell. As a terrible reminder of how easily love can turn to rage, and how even the strongest relationships can collapse, the shock of their rift lingers for the time being. Mac was glad to see Jason at the PCPD, so he could handle Aunt Tracy. Jason walked silently inside his interrogation room. "Oh please, this is not the time for your strong silent act. Get me out of here," she pleaded. Jason told Tracy that he would post bail after Diane spoke with the court. "Bail? The charges should be dropped. I was framed by that wretched brother of yours," Tracy said. "Drew sailed up to the boathouse on that barge of his. Then he trespassed on our property and he planted that, whatever it was, in my car." Tracy became even more upset as Jason simply gazed at her. She questioned, "Why are you giving me the dead eye?" Jason's response, "I was just thinking, maybe it wasn't a good idea to team up with Drew," silenced Tracy for a full 30 seconds before she told Jason she had no regrets. After a short while, Mac entered and informed Tracy that Diane had done her magic and she may leave. At that moment, Jason got an enigmatic phone call. He picked up the phone and asked the individual what he needed done. Jason informed Tracy that he had more important things to accomplish, so she needed to find another ride. From her home, Elizabeth watched the ball. She shut off the television after witnessing Joe's public outburst of rage, saying, "Well, that was intense." Lucas immediately entered the room wearing a tux and holding a bottle of champagne. Since the top nurse reportedly cannot sit in a ballroom using a wheelchair or crutches, he assumed he would simply bring Liz to the nurse's ball. While Lucky was out on a lengthy errand, Liz put on the paper tiara Lucas had brought and poured her some champagne. They recalled the 10-year-old ball where Carly informed everyone that Hayden was a fake and not actually married to Jake Doe, also known as Drew Kane, while Brad proposed to Lucas and Rick proposed to Liz. Lucy attempted to quiet the crowd as Gio lost it and revealed that Brooke Lynn and Dante were the parents who had given him away. Emma then pursued Gio. She smiled uncomfortably and said, "Didn't I tell you guys that anything can happen at the nurse's ball?" Chase nodded to his wife while remaining on stage. Brooke Lynn stood up and hurried out the ballroom after her mother. "What the hell is Gio talking about?" Dante murmured to Lulu while Lucy was babbling, and Cody came over and drew him aside to speak. To answer some questions, Cody led Dante into a dressing room. Dante was shocked and wondered how Cody knew. "I know this is a lot to take in. I don't know the whole story, but I know one thing for sure. Brooke Lynn had your baby," he said. "I've known about the pregnancy since that summer. That's why Brooke Lynn left Camp Martha early. She was pregnant," Cody said. Cody claimed that Brooke Lynn had sworn him to silence, but Dante was furious that Cody had never told him. "Then, when I didn't hear any more about it, I assumed that she terminated the pregnancy," stated Cody. Dante exclaimed, "And that baby is Gio. Gio Palmieri is my son," before he almost started crying. "So, that little kid that I used to see lighting sparklers on the 4th of July block party, that was my boy? Did Brooke Lynn know?" said the man. Ned, Lois, and Sunny also went. Carly stopped Lulu as she attempted to follow. She remarked, "Lulu, don't. You've done enough." Lulu threw a fit as Carly led her into the ladies' room. Lulu clarified that Gio most likely overheard her confronting Lois. She wanted to locate Dante, but Carly wouldn't let it. Dante needs to hear the truth, but he needs to hear it from the people who were actually involved. That is Lois and Brooke Lynn, not you. You need to calm down because, for better or worse, you're the one who set this whole train in motion. You need to get off the track before you get leveled," Carly said prior to seeing Joss and Trina act. Olivia, gasping for air, caught up to Sunny in the lobby. "Could this be true? Is Gio our grandson?" she inquired. Sunny appeared equally astounded. Sunny asked, "Did you know anything about Brooke Lynn having a baby?" "I'm embarrassed to say I did not," Ned answered. Olivia started asking Chase questions when he showed up. "Brooke Lynn had a baby? Is it true or is it not? She inquired. Olivia sought additional information, but Chase informed her that this wasn't his story to share, and that she needed to speak with Brooklyn. Chase simply responded, yes, Brooklyn had a child when she was in high school.